Hey, discerning listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. The other way. Let's watch.
Do you remember how we talked about me possibly sending Rishi a message on social media to see if he would, grab the bait?
Yes.
Well, he responded.
Okay.
I think it's kind of concerning.
Okay, well, maybe it's one of those situations like Steve and Alina where, although it's not a good thing that they did this, but if Rishi actually did respond in a infidelity sort of manner, then maybe it's better to know the hard way that the individual Rishi is shady. So, I don't know. Let's see what he said here, though.
Okay.
So I said, "Hi, I've been looking through your posts and I like what I see. How do you feel about me?" Rishi says, "Do we know each other?"
Okay, well, let's see how this goes. Maybe it gets worse. But so she reaches out randomly and says, "I like your profile. Do you like what you see on mine?" And then Rishi says, "Do I know you?" Like, well, what's going on here?
I say, "I know you from seeing your pics, and I think you're attractive." Rishi writes back, "Okay, well, where are you from?"
Okay, so she hits on him, essentially, and he says, "Okay, where are you from?" So, I don't know, it's right down the middle, because on one hand, if you were definitely flirting, you would reciprocate, like, "You're attractive too," or "I like your pictures too," or something like that. But he didn't say that. He just said, "Okay," which, when I think about that, I think that says something. Someone comes up to you at a bar and is just like, "You're hot." And you're like, "Okay, how are you?" I don't know. And then he says, "How are you, where are you from?" Okay, I don't know. Let's see what else happens.
I say, "I'm in London right now."
That was the last, like, he didn't say anything after you said, "I'm in London right now"?
No.
Well, that's it. That's the entirety of the exchange. What? Oh, I mean, so I'm on social media, right? As they call it, Instagram, and people will DM me, and not stuff like this usually, but it can happen. And how do I respond? I usually just delete. I think that's my general policy. But if I did respond, or if I thought maybe someone was actually just trying to have a casual conversation or something, they were a fan of the podcast and they said something and I responded somehow, I don't know. I usually am pretty careful about how I respond, but anyway, the way that the reason why I bring that up is because I'm just trying to imagine that if someone read it in a certain way, looking for certain, I don't know, evidence that I was receptive to someone over DM on Instagram, then I suppose you'll see that anywhere, right? If you twist someone's words. So the entirety of the conversation is, "You're hot," she says to him. "I like your profile. How's it going?" And so the entirety of his responses are, "Do I know you?" And then she says, "Are you hot?" And then he says, "Okay, where are you from?" And then she says, "London." And yeah, there's no indication. I mean, maybe, but it certainly doesn't indicate any sort of cheating at all. It's being polite. And then she says London and he just doesn't reply. I think that says a lot, actually. Just like, I think the way she's interpreting it is that he was receptive, and maybe if she had said a different town, like somewhere closer to him or something, he would have been more receptive, or I don't know. But certainly that's not evidence of anything.
I feel like he didn't say anything incriminating.
Why is he asking, "Where am I from?" And how do we know each other?
Because he doesn't know who the F you are. He's like, who is this? Do I know you? Where are you? What is happening? And then he stopped. Literally, it was, who are you and where are you from? And you're hot. Okay. Where are you from? So, yeah, you spit. Now, maybe it was. Maybe he's a dirtbag. Maybe this is what he does. Maybe if she said a different town, he'd be like, let's hook up. I don't know. But it's certainly not evidence. And she seems very sure of herself. But, you know, when you think about Alina and Steven, when Steven was tricked like this, baited like this, the conversation was much more elaborate, right? I can't remember the exact back and forth, but Steven was caught red-handed, absolutely flirting with someone online from my memory. This is not that.
Yeah, I get that that's like weird.
Shady. It's a red flag.
Do people not understand the term red flag? I mean, it's not a clinical term, but you know, culturally speaking, it's a term of a very obvious sign that someone is problematic somehow, abusive, a cheater, conning you, they're a con artist, whatever. This is not that. At most, it's like a tiny little off-white, slightly yellow flag heading in the distant direction of a red flag. But it's not even that. There's nothing there. At the most likely interpretation is he's being nice to someone who's being weird on the internet, or he's being polite to someone who is hitting on him, and he's letting him down easy, I guess. Well, not even that. I mean, where are you from? Okay. Oh, no, sorry. Do I know you? Okay. Where are you from? That's the entirety. Well, she's full court press hitting on him, saying, let's flirt online. And he's like, so, yeah. This is just now. Yeah, maybe he's a cheater, but there's no indication from that he is.
Not want to see that?
I don't know. I mean, I just think that he's confused. His English isn't great.
No, you're making excuses for him. Why? Is he even responding to my messages, asking me, a female, a pretty attractive female, who I am and where I'm from?
Wait, does this have to do with her ego as to whether or not she's attractive or not? I don't know, but I suspect this has more to do with xenophobia and racism, but maybe a factor in here is that she believes that how could anyone possibly resist her? And if someone's talking to her, they're obviously hitting on her. She says, I'm an attractive female, and why would he even be chatting with me? Well, because you DM'd him and he's just like being polite.
That?
I don't know. I mean, I just think that he's confused. His English isn't great.
No, you're making excuses for him. Why? Is he even responding to my messages, asking me, a female, a pretty attractive female, who I am and where I'm from? Why? This guy seems shady as
Why is he asking? I don't know, just making conversation. Who knows? Again, maybe he is a cheater, but certainly that is not an effective way to cheat, is to say, do I know you? Where are you from? And then you just stop replying. It's not either he's not flirting or he's the worst flirter on Instagram.
you are sacrificing so much. And he is willing to talk to any random girl online. That's how I see it. Look at the people he follows. How many are females?
This thing again. Look at the people he follows. Do people not understand how Instagram works and how social media works? There's a lot of different reasons why you would follow, like this assumption. So I'm guessing she looked at all the people that he follows and found that among some of the people that he follows, there's some attractive women, according to her. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It just means that he follows their accounts. What's the big deal? It could mean something, but certainly it's not a strong indication of something. So, well, I'm guessing this friend of Jen's has a bone to pick, maybe some history of her own maybe even going back to her childhood about betrayal like this. She seems quite sure of herself. And that's one thing that I am really astonished by sometimes on this show, is just how sure some of these people are about their opinions based on extremely limited information. They're just absolutely positive. And, it could be, but you just, to be that sure of yourself, it's can't be a very pleasant way to live life, to be that sure about things that you're that wrong about, potentially.
They're mostly females?
I think you know the answer to the question. He's a model and a trainer.
I know in relationships I tend to be jealous and possessive. In the past, I have seen things on social media about exes, and I've gotten more upset about it than I should have. So I made a conscious decision not to follow Rishi on social media when I met him.
Interesting. So at first, it seemed like Jen was pretty balanced and attachment secure. Attachment secure individuals will tend to be more rational in their reactivity to things like this, to indications, to what I might call just a shade off of white flag in the direction of yellow and red. The very minor possible indication of infidelity or untrustworthy behavior. For someone that is securely attached, they will interpret that and regulate and not jump to conclusions because they don't have triggers around attachment, insecurity, rejection, and abandonment and betrayal. So they're not quick to judge in general among most situations, not all, of course. And I want to be clear about that, because sometimes people think like there's the 4 categories of attachment style and securely attached people are always healthy. No, there's not a single person on this planet, including the securely attached individuals, that are 100% healthy 100% of the time. I mean, I would venture to say that securely attached people are problematic probably 50% of the time in their life, in their interpretations, in their emotional regulation, in their attachment, insecurity, reactivity. It's just that their tendency tends to be more towards health and more towards rationality and balance and assertiveness and compassion, and less triggering, of course. They have less relational traumas, or they've healed from them sufficiently. But at first I thought, maybe Jen is more balanced, attachment secure, that kind of thing, because she seems to be giving Rishi the benefit of the doubt where that would make sense, right? But then we hear from her that she might have a history of preoccupied attachment behavior and reactivity, that there would be Instagram posts. I don't know if she's talking about Rishi or another person, but there were posts by someone and she would overreact, and then she concluded later on that she overreacted. And that indicates a possible preoccupied attachment. And as a way, I don't know that, of course, but it's just one data point, so who knows. But the solution for her was to distance herself from social media because she knew that she would be triggered by that, which is interesting, right? It's one thing to not be triggered by something. It's another thing to be so triggered by something you can't even expose yourself to things that you know will trigger you, even though you know it shouldn't trigger you. That's attachment insecure. Who knows? But that's interesting. And now the friend is really sucking her back in, and maybe into that preoccupied space of being obsessive about checking things and assuming a lot of things, assuming abandonment and rejection and cheating when there's no reason to believe that. And I don't know, just speculating, maybe Jen and her friend really bonded in that way in the past. The friend misses that and is trying to suck her back in. I don't know. It's just a speculation.
Because I don't want to do anything that would sort of tip me over the edge.
You're in denial. You want this to work. You want your fairy tale marriage.
It's kind of like this friend is a cult member and is trying to suck her back into the cult of preoccupation. It's just unrelenting, the amount of self-assuredness and energy that she's putting into this without any knowledge of anything. There's like no data. Now, again, maybe she's right. maybe y'all know because you've seen future episodes. And Rishi is a total cheater and all that kind of stuff. But we've seen no data. And I would assume that they would have showed us. And I'm assuming the friend would know about it and voice it if there were data. So, there's no data.
You don't want to see all the signs that maybe this isn't a good idea.
I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I don't think anything you say is gonna change my mind.
Well, good luck with your move, and I hope that you have a great time in India.
What a great friend. So Jen is drawing a boundary, saying, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I'm sorry, nothing's going to change my mind. So it was good that she was able to draw that boundary without getting hostile.
Okay. I still love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
I love you too. I'm sorry, I'm just overprotective. I'm trying to help you to not ruin your life.
Yeah. I don't know if we've seen such a stark example on the show of a friend so adamant and so much on a mission, and the person in question is so just not on board with it, It's an interesting contrast.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Although there's got to be other examples like this, like Ben and Mahogany. Wasn't Ben's friend on the tell-all kind of like this, just yelling at Ben and saying that he's an idiot for dating? It wasn't, and Ben was not really on board with that. So it's probably happened before.
I don't care that I think it was really unclear, the communication that went on. Now, I'll keep it in mind, and it's not like I want him to be talking to random women on social media, but I'm not.
Yeah, so now Rishi, when he finds out about this, is like, 1, I wasn't cheating. 2, there was no reason to believe I was cheating. 3, we'd talked about it a lot. 4, you go behind my back with your friend to trick me into revealing that I'm cheating. So you totally lied to me for no reason. There was no reason to question me. There was no reason to suspect that I was cheating. And you just deceived me and tricked me into this scenario. Like, my trust in you, Jen, is completely, it starts over today. I now am, I have to reset the egg timer, and I have to wait another 3 years for me to trust you again. And in those 3 years, I need to see no deception and no lies and nothing along these lines. It's a very destructive act that her and her friend did.
I'm going to not take a risk for my potential happiness because he made a few comments that my friend didn't feel like were appropriate.
Okay, well, let's end there and tune in next time when I continue watching. And everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.